If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? And welcome to episode 877 now of The Ron and Don Show. We're back live in the Let's Schwab studios.
What is up, Ron and Don Nation?
Hey, coming up on the Ron and Don Show, we have another episode of Don's Dum Dums. In fact, Don went to do something. My heart was full of goodwill the other day, Ron, so I went to Goodwill.
Yeah.
Not going to believe what happened to Don at Goodwill. I don't know if I'm the dum-dum or the guy who wasn't helping me, if he's the dum-dum. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we got to talk about this kid killer on the loose right now in the enchantments. Will the cops ever find him? I recently did the enchantments, and I have to say, maybe not. Before we get to that, though, let's get to this. By the time that you've heard this, there has been a historic parade in Washington, D.C., and then there's also been historic, and we don't know if they're riots. I'm sure some of them have turned into riots, but historic protest all around the country due to, well, Ron, why are there protests around the country? Is this about the president saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to get some M1A1 tanks. I'm going to gather some Blackhawks. Just happens to be my birthday, but it's not for my birthday because we're celebrating the fact that the Army is 250 years old. Don't we want to celebrate the fact that the Army is 250 years old? What's going on here?
I think these things are entirely separate. I think what we have going on here is this immigration raid across America, which is what was the center point of the campaign last year. So this should not be a surprise by anyone. The escalation that has happened recently is very interesting. And what happened was when you go through due process, the United States apparatus is kind of maxed out at how many people you can deport. And so if you look at the statistics of like Obama and then the first Trump presidency, Biden, and then now, they're kind of about the same in the sense of like, here's the way the court system and the arrests and everything, the deportations, it takes time to do this if you do it according to the law.
And Obama was great at it.
Obama was great.
He deported a lot of people.
So the levels of deportations have stayed relatively similar. And so Stephen Miller, who is on the cabinet or the staff of the current president.
And has a great band, the Stephen Miller Band.
Yes, He has wow.
Thank you, Matt.
Abracadabra.
Yeah.
So he has made these promises he wants to do 10 times the amount of deportations that Biden did. And so they had a big round table, and he was basically screaming at the officials saying, we need to deport more. He's like, go to Home Depot, go to 7-Eleven, go to restaurant kitchens. And like, we need to increase the number of deportations and arrests.
And this is a television show.
Right.
So let's scare the hell out of people and get the TV cameras.
So it doesn't, like, we just need to do it.
Yeah.
And so there's this push to increase the numbers. And regardless of if there's due process, regardless of if people are here legally or illegally, there was one case study on this that was really interesting to me. And then I'll get back to the parade and the stuff going on in LA here in a second. But there was one businessman, I believe it was in Omaha, where they were it was a meat processing plant. And so ICE officials showed up. He has 145 employees that work at this meat processing plant. And this is a guy in a red country where he said, I follow this statutes to the letter. When someone applies for a job to work at the meat processing plant, he says, I take their documents, I fill out the application, I send it to the federal government as required, and then when I get the approval and the green light from the federal government, that's when they do the onboarding and they will work at this processing factory. He said 80 people out of 145 were arrested in this raid. And so he's like, what am I supposed to do as a law-abiding businessman?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm following the process from the government, and then I have an unannounced raid where you take half of my workforce. And so it's like, not only are we dealing with tariffs, Not only am I dealing with all of the policies around agriculture in the middle of America, now my staff gets cut in half when I've been following the rules and paying my taxes and doing all the stuff. And so this is as a direct result of stereotypes of saying, okay, where are the immigrants working? And Stephen Miller is cracking the whip to go arrest people. And so it's theater. What we have here is a lot of theater but there's a goal to this.
Hang
theater.
on, it's not a stereotype to say that there are people that are in this country illegally that are over at the Home Depot and that are lined up and wanting to work. And probably mixed in there are people that are here legally, but that's not a stereotype. That's true. You can go
right.
I was at the Home Depot yesterday.
Some stereotypes are true.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, you're playing, so I believe what is happening here is that the goal of this administration is to coalesce power. And to basically move us in the direction of rewarding the rich, rewarding specific demographics above others, and creating a government that's more punitive towards political enemies.
And what's crazy is when they did raid Kid Rock's new restaurant that he owns in Nashville, they had to shut down. They couldn't operate. And then he came out and said, as we talked before, hey, I don't really deal with the day-to-day operations, Kid Rock said. And then the president, I wonder how many people you would arrest if you raided Mar-a-Lago right now or any of the buildings that he is building around the world. And not only those buildings, but the people cleaning, the people that are doing the landscape around those buildings, all the jobs that typically a lot of those
deliveries.
Like you think of the insulation business in this country, putting insulation in a building or in a home. Call someone today and say anywhere in Seattle and see if you can find people that aren't from Central America or Mexico or from Ukraine. Some of them here legally, some not. See if you can find an insulation person with the same color skin in mine, which is white, by the way. To come do insulation in your house. It's not going to happen.
Imagine the maintenance crew at a championship golf course.
Sure.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So here's what I think is happening. There is a personal vengeance campaign going on, meaning that, okay, who was against me? Who's been against me for 8 to 10 years? All the blue states are against me. And it's very interesting, like the state of New York, which is where this president is from, is now an enemy. Even though he spent his entire life courting the power and the prestige of real estate development in New York. California's an enemy, Washington State's an enemy. And so they're going through and taking the apparatus of the government now to try and punish the bad states, the them.
Not to try.
The lib. We're going to dunk on the libs.
The universities are being punished.
And so you look at...
Patty Murray came out the other day and said, hey, we're going to be short 500 wildland firefighters this year. Because they all got fired. So no, it's not you're trying, you are, and
right.
you're going to
so you're punishing.
Wait till you see what happens this year during the hurricane season, and now that they're abolishing FEMA and they're trying to throw that back to the states, which is very difficult. And Ron and I have shared before ad nauseum about the hurricanes that we've been through, including Katrina. What happens in the states is the state couldn't function because the federal government came in and took the National Guard and sent them to Iraq and Afghanistan. And so when they called in the National Guard, do you know who they brought in? Because I was there. They didn't speak English. It was the Mexican National... You can't make this up. I have interviews. It was the Mexican National Guard that came to the rescue. Those were the first ones on the streets after Hurricane Katrina. And then when people there couldn't rebuild the Gulf and the South, guess who it was? It was Mexicans coming up from Mexico.
And Central Americans.
And Central America, but mostly Mexico, that helped rebuild the Gulf South.
So all of these things,
we are so dependent on that labor. Some people that are here legally and some illegally. But boy, you start deporting all that labor, it's going to get very expensive. Things aren't going to get done. And we're going to find out that forests are going to burn, cities are going to flood, and you're going to throw that back to the states. When you go through a natural disaster, you need help from other states. and it's the federal government. That's what they do. They are the backstop for the states, and that's being taken away because the federal government is leaving the game altogether.
The simple strategy is, and I'm going to curse here for a minute, which I don't normally do.
I love it when you curse.
The simple strategy, I think this is what appeals to the administration. We're going to go in to a place that does not support us and stir some shit up.
Man, I thought it was going to be the F word.
Nope.
I thought we were going to get the F word.
We're gonna stir it up.
Yeah.
Create this big shitstorm,
Yeah.
and then we are gonna bait people into reacting in a certain way, and then we're gonna come in and put the hammer down because that's what our base wants us to do. They like it when we put the hammer down and we dunk on the libs. And so all of this woke BS protest, we're gonna come in and show them who's boss. And really, to use another cliche, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. Like, this is having impacts across the board, but as long as your fundamental belief is that there is an us and there is a them, and they are bad and we are good. They are criminals and rapists and murderers, and we're the good guys. They are waving a Mexican flag. I'm waving the American flag.
I'm waving an Irish flag.
And so we need to come in. We, the good guys,
Yeah.
need to ride in on our tanks in a parade and show them who's boss. Put a boot on their neck and show them who's boss. And then meanwhile,
the Native Americans are going, really? This land doesn't belong to you because this land never even belonged to me because we use the land like you're supposed to use the land, and we shared it with the forest and with the animals and with Mother Earth. It's amazing. You're sitting on the Hopi or the Navajo reservation where you and I grew up, and you're looking at this, and you're just like, this is goddamn ridiculous, right?
well, and then meanwhile, the other pillar of the campaign was that I'm going to bring prices down on day one.
Yeah.
So you're taking out this labor force, you're raising tariffs, and the largest chunk of people, if you go to the red states, and you look at the Medicaid expenditures and you look at Medicare expenditures and you look at the social programs, food stamps, and all of the things that happen, it is not a blue state phenomenon. It is a poor people
I think what's
phenomenon.
also interesting, and nobody talks about this, on his watch, and we saw this during the Black Lives Matter movement and certainly during COVID, there always seems to be some of these major marches around America. And this hasn't happened yet. So we're recording on a Thursday. His parade is happening this Saturday, and then it's been announced around the country that the protesters are not going to protest in D.C. because they don't want to have a clash with the president and with our military, but they'll be protesting other places, including here in Seattle. Is this going to be what we saw? I mean, we saw 60,000 people take to the streets for the BLM movement. We saw probably 30,000 women in pink take to the streets. Those things seem to fizzle out. What do you think is going to happen here?
I think it's really hard to predict because if they...
That's why it's called a prediction, Ron.
They are evolving their strategies. And like using the Marines, for instance. We haven't had American Marines called in to an American state.
They're not even there yet. And the current president is saying that they went in and they saved the city from burning. No, they didn't because they haven't even arrived.
Right. I'm just saying. So like that's a tactic where somebody did the deep research and said, here's what you have to do. You have to invoke this rule that's kind of within executive power. And then we're going to stretch the rule a little bit and you can do this and it's legal. And by the time you get sued, we're going to be
the Marines can't really do anything. So that's just all.
Well, I saw a photo of
Marines can't do anything.
Of 5 Marines that are battle rattle,
right,
guarding 2 ICE agents, head to toe battle rattle, arresting 1 immigrant who's in a sweatshirt.
Yeah. So your prediction is you have no prediction.
My prediction is they're going to keep evolving this to where they try to incite violence.
Yeah.
They want there to be violence from justified. I think they want there to be a justifiable killing of an immigrant. Yeah. I think they want an immigrant or a protester to throw something in a soldier's face who then was justified in putting him down.
I say this is going to continue to escalate in a way that we didn't see BLM. He's doing this early on in his administration, plus he's not dealing with COVID. This will continue to escalate. And what you're going to see is people protest during the day, and then you'll see some cities burn at night because those aren't protesters. The dudes that show up, and they're mostly young white dudes, They're there to do something completely different. And that's what we're seeing at night in Los Angeles. You're seeing people go out, protest during the day. Let's all stay peaceful. Let's give the cops water. You see a lot of police officers don't even have riot helmets on or anything. And then at night, it changes into something different. Final question here. Who wants this more? The current administration and President Trump?
Wants what more?
What is happening around America and the conflict? News agencies, especially those that when Trump got elected, CNN and MSNBC, their ratings just fell through the floor, right? They're through the roof right now, through the roof. Or what if you're a governor in a great state of California, and out of all the Democrats out there that they would pick to be the next president of the United States, he was 13th and polling about 3%. Today, he's polling at about 37%. Who's this benefit more and who needs it more?
It depends on how you play it. So that's what we're seeing right now is how is it going to be played? So like, for instance, with the parade, if nobody goes to the parade,
It sounds like that's what's happening.
then that's going to be egg on the face of like, we spent $134 million for a parade for no one. Yeah. So, but if the parade is well attended, then you can, wave your flag and say, look at all the people that came to support the parade. If these protests devolve into anarchy, which, and we've had anarchy in the Pacific Northwest going all the way back. When Don and I first started in radio, you were there when people are throwing garbage cans through plate glass windows and stealing TVs in downtown Seattle. So, like, we've seen variations of this for decades here. This is not a new phenomenon. But depending on how it gets played, and does the narrative take hold writ large of, are we going to scapegoat the Mexican people?
We have already. That's already happened.
Nationwide.
And we always do.
And so if that scapegoating continues and they become the answer for everything bad in the world, then I think this goes into a very dark place.
I'll finish with this. I live on Queen Anne. I'm leaving my house today. Right up the street, someone is digging a trench. All appear to be Hispanic. My next door neighbor's having their house clean. I know who's cleaning their house. Hispanic.
The entire crew that dug out my basement was Hispanic. Or they were Mexican, I should say.
Everybody out walking their dogs. Mostly doodles. Mostly Middle Eastern, or mostly have skin whiter than mine. So very interesting to see that when I was on my way over here to do this radio show today. So anyway, you guys, buckle up. At the same time, remember the police are not your enemies. I know a lot of good cops. Many of them, their hearts are with you. Hand them a bottle of water and know that is very, very difficult. It is very, very difficult for them to be out on those streets, especially the young men that are African American, especially those that are Hispanic, and especially women, because they have to go out there and hold the line when you do things like head out to I-5. So make sure you thank a police officer. Don't spit on them. Hand them a bottle of water. They are on our side. And the thing that's upsetting to me is the reason why we're 1,800 cops short in Seattle right now is after the march, the BLM marches that we had, and some of the other protests that we've had here in Seattle. Those police officers were so abused that they did one of three things. One, they retired right away, which 600 of them did. Two, they quit and they went to work for another agency, or they retired. Or three, they went to work for another agency where they're from in a place like Federal Way, and then they bought a golf cart down in Scottsdale and they're commuting back and forth. So we got to get our arms around our officers and at the same time take it to the streets, because that's what we do in America, right? You take it to the streets. Jesus took it to the streets and got arrested. Mandela took it to the streets and got arrested. I'll leave it right there. Sometimes taking it to the streets and getting arrested is what you have to do, but along the way, look at the respect that Martin Luther King showed, or Mandela, or Jesus himself. Whether you believe he's a liar, a lunatic, or exactly what he said he was, there's a way to protest and a way not to. We will see you on the other side of this.
If you find yourself dreaming about a new home, go from just a dream to the dream team. Schedule your time at ronanddonsitdown.com.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don shows. We talked about, are you kind of amazed that this dude that killed 3 of his daughters is still on the loose today as we speak? He's been spotted now in the enchantments by Lake Kolchak. Have you ever been to the enchantments or Lake Kolchak?
I have not. That's why I wanted to talk to you about this story, because I am at best a weekend hiker that does small distances. The normal Pacific Northwest.
Yep.
I go to a trailhead. If my knee is able to handle it after my car crash, I'll walk a couple miles and come back in and enjoy nature. I am not one of those people. I've done years ago mailbox peak. I went out with our friend Kanan over the weekend, and him and I back in the day did mailbox, and we did Pilchuck, and we did a bunch of the bigger hikes. And it's not my thing.
Did you go with his daughter, or was it just you?
No,
two?
it's just his daughter wasn't able to make it.
That's awesome.
She's got ballet. So we my point being is enchantments is just a different thing, and I've had friends that have done that and Ragnar and all those things that are at a higher level. So this triple murderer of his family was seen on a surveillance camera. They believe that it's him.
I think it's him.
Near the enchantments. For people that aren't into this, because it's kind of a specific thing, correct me if I'm wrong, enchantments is a specific hike that is 40 miles long, 50 miles long, or longer. It's a trail system that you have to apply for to go on, and it sells out every year, and it's a multi-day difficult hike. Do I have that right? And it's sort of north of Highway 2, out Highway 2?
Yeah, so just think of Leavenworth. If you and I were going to go hike the enchantments, there would be 2 things we would do. Number 1, we would get in the shape of a lifetime. Like, you really got to get in shape to do the enchantments. It's not something you just go do. 2, we would apply, Ron, for a permit to go camp up there. Because once you're up there, it's so beautiful, you don't want to leave. Like, you just want to be up there. The difficulty is they only give out a handful of permits. And you see when you get up there, there's over 600 lakes. It's so pristine. And by the time you get up there, you will not hear a leaf blower. And you will not see a gum wrapper.
So if you're going to do the entire thing, how many miles would that be?
21 miles out. If you were going to go the other side and come back, that would be 42 miles, right? So what you would do, and what we did when I did this with my friend Liz, is we jump in a van at Leavenworth. We head up to the trailhead. The first 3 miles you do the first 3 hours you're going to do in the dark, and you're going to do that with a headlamp. And then you get up to...
Because you were not camping.
We weren't camping.
Right.
I apply every year to camp, and I have never gotten the permit. Most people I know have never gotten the permit. So you climb up the Lake Kolchak. Some people jump in the water at that time. Then you get to a place called Asgard. Do you know what Scree is?
How difficult would this be compared to, like, you climbed Mount Rainier? Is
Going
this
up
more difficult than getting up to the base camp?
You have to be in similar shape. You have to be, like, if you could do the enchantments, and then you've had some mountaineering experience, and you've done some rope course stuff, and you know how to handle yourself with crampons and on a glacier in the middle of the night going over ladders, because that's what you're doing up there, right? The cleavers, the rocks, there's 35 of those on Rainier, and then those glacier, not 35, I'm sorry. There's thousands of cleavers. There's 35 glaciers, and those glaciers are always moving around the cleavers. And they open and close, and that's where you can fall in and we'll never see you again. And also that movement creates avalanches. You're not going to experience an avalanche up there, but what you will experience is from Kolchak up to the top of the enchantments, where you start across the crater to see all these beautiful lakes. There's about a mile of scree climbing. And while you're scree climbing, and you're going to be on your feet, and you're going to be on your hands and feet, and scree is just really loose rock. And there have been people that have fallen off it because once you start tumbling on that loose rock, you'll tumble all the way down and die. While you're doing that, you'll look up into the canyon and you'll see some really badass mountaineers and climbers that are climbing. You hear them say belay and on belay. So you're climbing, and then also that's where you will be met with wildlife.
So now here's the thing.
Anything from bears to rams.
So some hikers told the authorities, we saw a single male person. He was very unfriendly. He would not talk to anybody, and he did not seem to he was not equipped for this area, and that's why authorities believe that this is the triple murderer. My question to you is, if you are not well equipped, is this like, can you survive in this?
You can, because you can drink the water. Like when you go up there, I don't even filter the water. You can drink the water just right out of. I will fill my bottles up and just drink the water.
And
when
is
you're
it a thing where if I wanted to not be found, I could not be found?
You don't have to eat for 3 weeks before your body starts shutting down and you get in trouble and it starts feeding on its organs. If he had some extra layers of fat, he's fine. So you don't have to drink water for 3 days. Food, you can kind of go sideways a little bit after 3 weeks. I think for him, because he's a ranger, survivalist, you've been to Iraq and Afghanistan, I think we'll see that you could hide up there forever if you were well equipped. It sounds like he's not, and I think with infrared, they will probably find him, especially now that they brought in the Border Patrol, helicopters, other resources, and I have to say, you would think by now that he would have realized what he did and would turn himself in, or he would kill himself. I'm really amazed that he's still out there hiking around after murdering those little girls. Because sometimes, let's say it's like a religious thing or a crazy thing, you see someone that might commit familicide and kill their whole family, but they usually kill themselves. To have actually a good relationship with his ex, they were pretty good co-parents, it sounds like. He had fallen on hard times, was living in his truck, but he always returned the girls on time. It sounded like he was a very engaged father. To go out and murder them and kill them, somehow we'll see if that's connected to CTE or PTSD, but you think you would come down off the adrenaline of committing murder and you would either kill yourself or turn yourself in. I'm amazed that he's still out there hiking around.
I have someone that's SWAT adjacent, and the expectation is that he does not come in alive.
Yeah, I don't think so either. More in a minute.
Ron and Don, from radio to real estate. When you're ready to grab a cup of coffee and sit down with the guys, go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
Don's Dum Dums.
All right, time for Don's Dum Dums, and I think I'm probably the dum dum here. I went to Goodwill the other day. Ron and I go to Goodwill a lot, and we go for our clients. When's the last time that you've been to Goodwill?
I mean, I probably do 4 to 6 trips a year, but it's been a month or so.
Yeah, and Goodwill means, you think when you go to Goodwill, it's just a bunch of Goodwill. I have Goodwill. I spent a lot of time instead of it kills me. Does it kill you to throw nice things into the dump that you know can be reused or repurposed that somebody else could use, right?
It's difficult, but I also know in all these experience with Goodwill, like there are some communities that take so much stuff to Goodwills they can't handle it, and so they're getting more selective on what they'll take at Goodwill.
Seattle is that community,
right?
Yeah,
and so it used to, we can't do any more beds.
Yeah, and it used to be when I went to the one here in Seattle, you would show up and it's just full of Goodwill and everybody was nice, and so I pull up the other day and I know that they don't take mattresses, but I have these beautiful beds and dressers and they all match and all that. So I pull up, it's about 2:00 and the guy goes, "I can't take that," and I said, "Well, why not?" He said, "You had to have that here by 1:00." And I said, "You're joking." He goes, "Nope, it's not here by 1. We can't take it." I said, "Well, is that on the website?" He goes, I don't have any clue.
You are.
I said, how do you know that rule? He goes, "Look around. Do you see anybody else with beds?" And I'm like, "Nope." And he goes, "Everybody kind of knows the rule that's the rule that you," and I'm like, I didn't know that that's a rule. So I felt really dumb and stupid about it.
Is this just the guy in the parking lot in the vest?
Yeah.
So you're lighting up the guy in the vest.
And those guys that are in the parking lot with the vest,
They've usually gone through a training program.
This might be the first job. Usually there might be 60 and they're just happy to be alive like I am. This might be the first job that they've had in the last 15 to 20 years. We'll just put it that way. From the shopping cart to now I'm working at Goodwill. So I want to support these guys. So
it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you want to drop off your bed in your dresser.
Yeah. So anyway, I brought it back the next day. I brought it at the correct time, and they were happy to take the bet. So anyway, I just want to get the word out. Don't be a dum-dum. If you have a bed or any kind of furniture in Seattle, you got to get it to Goodwill by 1 o'clock. And I mean, he turned me around, and I was renting a truck, an enclosed truck. I had to rent the truck for an extra day. Just to hang on to this stuff to give it to Goodwill. And then here's the other thing, because now I know the rules. So I was cleaning out one of my closets the other day. I have all these clothes in there that you think you're going to wear, and you don't.
I just did a closet thing.
And the reason that guys hang on to their clothes is because our weight fluctuates a lot. And for me, if I'm in the gym and I'm working out, that's a different wardrobe than if I'm trail running. It's probably a 15 to 20 pound difference.
I have like aspirational pants that still have the tag on them. And I'm just they're all set aside now. I'm going to take them and get rid of them.
They're going to go.
It's like I had this realization. It was like 2 weeks ago. I was like, those pants have been in there since COVID, so it's been several years, and so I do need to drop some weight. But all the aspirational pants that are still tagged up, and I just liked them. They're going away
now. So I want you to know, I gathered all these clothes. I've learned my lesson. Don't go to Goodwill late. If you got some good stuff, go early. So I was up early the other morning. My son and I had a very early workout, so we went worked out. And then he had something else. Do you know there's football camp now? And they do football even while they're going to school at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Good for them.
They're out there playing football while they're going to school. And so if they do 2-a-days, they will do a practice in the morning and then a practice at night.
We never did that during
school.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's finals.
So anyway, I got all this stuff. It's all these aspirational clothes, as Ron likes to say. So I get them all packed up. I've washed them. They're folded. They're in very special bags. I'm like, you know what? This has to be one of the greatest clothes drop-offs that they've ever seen at Goodwill. Yeah, I mean, you haven't seen anything like it. It's a beautiful, beautiful drop-off, to quote someone.
The best. It's only the best drop-off.
It's only the best, to quote our national leader. So I pull up, and I'm about to use a word.
Is this the same trip?
Different trip, different day.
Same Goodwill?
But I'm going in early.
Same Goodwill.
Same Goodwill.
All right. I think I know the one you probably go to.
So I pull in. I'm the only one in line. And for some reason, I thought that it was 8:37 in the morning. So I get out of the car, and I think they open at 8, and I'm over there, and I'm taking the stuff. And usually they come out and help you. I'm like, there's no one out. This is weird because you put them in those little carts. There's no one out here helping me. So I'm taking the stuff and I put it in the cart. And there's a guy around the corner, not the same guy, but orange-eyed. He comes running around the corner after driving his forklift, almost hits me, runs me over. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, hey, I was here the other day, learned my lesson, felt a little dumb, didn't bring my stuff on time. So I have some really great, and I explained to him everything I'd done. I was so proud of myself. And he looks at me and he goes, we're not even fucking open yet. I said, well, what time do you open? He goes, we open at 8. And I'm like, well, it's 8:37. He goes, no, it's 7:37. I look at my watch. Sure enough, 7:37.
Don's Dum Dums.
Anyway, telling on myself for
have reached that age where you're the first one at every place.
being a dum-dum. You are too.
Oh, I'm always early.
You've always been that age.
I've always been that age.
Yeah.
That was the same day that Don texted us at 5 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When the sun's out in the summertime, man, do you want to miss it? I don't want to miss it. Because we got like 3.5 months of it, and I just don't want to miss it. So I'm up doing stuff, enjoying it. Anyway, we got to get out of here. Hey, you guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Ron and Don Show. Thanks for allowing us to be your friends, your broadcasters, and also your real estate brokers. There's a lot going on in real estate now, and whether you're buying, selling, listen to me, investing. Investors should be stepping in right now because for a lot of product out there that needs to be flipped, there are a lot of things that are coming to market right now that you can actually buy on or after the offer review. The time for investors is right now because there's a lot of scared money it doesn't mean that there's not money, but there's scared money that people have pulled out of the market. We're seeing it in our business as we speak. Whenever we tell people it's time to buy, most people don't listen to us until it's not time to buy, and then they buy, right?
And then they go, man, I should have bought when you said to buy.
Listen to me. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to get in touch with us, we have a buyer's playbook, a seller's playbook, and then we also do kind of a meet and greet online where we can talk about how we can help you on your real estate journey.
It's called a Ron and Don Sit Down. You can email me directly, ron@ronanddon.com, or we have a website, ronanddonsitdown.com.
Yeah. Get signed up for the Nation News. Get signed up for a sit down with us. And if we can't help you on your real estate journey, we'll find somebody that can, you guys. Okay? Anyway, these are crazy times out there. So make sure that we stay close to each other. Make sure if you see an officer that you show some appreciation, throw them a bottle of water. They are not the enemy. They live, work, and play. In fact, some of their kids are probably at school right now playing with your kids. So just keep that in mind, all right? Head up, shoulders back. Thanks for listening to the Ron and Don Show. Thanks to Matt for producing today's show. Thanks for Grace for helping build us a beautiful studio. My son is coming up here, the 7-year-old version of him. He hates listening to this because now he's 15. He's like, when are we pulling that shit off, Dad? I said, did you just cuss? He goes, yeah, you always said I can when it's appropriate. I'm like, seems like it's appropriate. Yeah. And Charlie the dog is saying goodbye to everyone, too. So head up, shoulders back, like I just said. And don't forget, you've been listening to the Ron and Don Show. All right! Pregnant pause. Ron learned this at Bellevue Community College. 3, 2, 1. On the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Well, that's it. Show's over. We'll see you next time on the Ron and Don Radio Network.